I'm here today to introduce our next set of speakers in the Future Tech track. Presenting TV Measurement is ready to take off into the future. So I'd like to introduce Walt Horseman, who is the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Advanced Media and Advertising at TiVo. Walt leads TiVo's advanced advertising platform and data business. He's an industry pioneer in data-driven advertising who previously launched and built Audience Express, an industry-leading automated TV sales platform that was ultimately acquired by Comcast in 2015. Prior to that, he held senior positions at Visible World, Cablevision, and Accenture. He has a BA in economics and German from Amherst College and an MBA from Stanford University. And I'd also like to welcome his colleague, Anthony Acquisti, who is the Senior Director of Client Strategy at TiVo, who's going to walk through some use case studies at the latter half of the presentation. So without further ado, please help me welcome Walt.
Thank you much, everyone. And I really appreciate your joining us this afternoon to talk about the future of TV measurement. But just as a show of hands, so TiVo, right? So I've been with the company for just a little bit over a year, and it's a wonderful brand that's been around for 20 years, the inventor of the DVR. But just as a show of hands, does anybody think of TiVo as a data company? All right, great. So about half of the folks here. So it is interesting because people think of TiVo as this company that sort of enabled ad skipping, but then we're also this very powerful data company. And really, that is because we were one of the first companies to actually pull back raw TV viewership data off of the actual TiVo devices in the home to understand video consumption and TV advertising analytics. So through that pioneering work that was several years ago, we have continued to focus on analytics and measurement and how to use data to make the targeting and the understanding of video consumption very powerful as we go into this future. So to kick this off, just where are we today? And I thought Evan's keynote was incredibly inspiring, maybe a little bit scary. The fact that we're living in a bubble, I think that's absolutely right. So, we like to think about where are we today, and that is the consumer is really in charge. So I know that that's a platitude. How many of us have been to conferences where we say, oh, the consumer is in charge and the consumer is sort of driving the story and we've all got to make the consumer happy. But now it's really real. And truly from the work that Evan presented this morning, yes, absolutely, the consumer is in charge. The consumer got everything that the consumer really ever wanted, which is give me all of the high quality content that I want, give it to me on any device, and give it to me on the business model that I prefer, whether that's ad supported or whether I'm actually paying for it through a subscription fee. In fact, for those of you who are in the presentation earlier, more high quality content, that's what we've given the consumer. I've never heard from the prior presentation someone talk about there's actually anxiety that we have generated within the consumer, that there's actually too much content out there. And I think as an industry we need to come up with creative ways to do content marketing and actually help the consumer discover where that content is. But yes, we've given them everything that they want and possibly more than they really wanted. And of course, we've got distribution and device fragmentation. So on any device that I've ever wanted, I can watch on my mobile phone, I can watch on my tablet, I can watch on my connected TV, I can watch on linear, I can watch on my DVR, on VOD. And of course, that's creating audience dispersion. So less viewership per particular show, but in aggregate, we're watching lots more. So for those of us who are in the TV measurement business, of course, great for the consumer, really hard for the understanding of measurement and also thinking about currencies. Because the old world where we had a very easy to understand Nielsen GRP on linear television is not going to sustain. And of course, we know that those folks who are selling advertising are leaving money on the table because we're not properly measuring across the whole ecosystem. And it is absolutely true that in the advertising buying world, which has not caught up yet to how video consumption patterns are changing, we still unfortunately have got different buckets of money being spent on linear television or Live plus 3 or Live plus 7 or Live plus N. But then there's a different bucket of money that's then going into OTT or digital video or what have you, even if it's the same content. And so that is a challenge that we've got to bring all of that viewership together so that we're properly monetizing. And then, of course, we've got to understand, how is this going to change the currency? A couple of weeks ago, I was speaking with the head of research for one of the major network groups, and he said, look, I don't want to basically post on just a traditional Nielsen age and gender currency. I want to start posting on business results. Really what we need to get to is we're driving business outcomes. The purpose of what we're doing is to change consumer behavior. And we've got more data to understand how we're changing consumer behavior, but that leads us into how do we think about the world of currency. So a lot changing, I think, is the understatement. I think it's the theme of this conference, which is that media writ large is undergoing very significant change, and of course that drastically applies to TV measurement. So thinking of, at TiVo, some fun opportunities about how have we changed the consumer experience. So yes, as TiVo is known for having the ability to fast forward through ads and collect data, but how many of you, when you're watching the Super Bowl, say, I really watch it for the ads? Oh, come on. Really? Come on. I know at least the Super Bowl party that I go to, at least 50% of the people say, hey, I really just watch it for the ads. This year, of course, was a spectacular game. And I know that the conventional wisdom is that the ads were not as good as they have been. But we did something really fun, sort of in this idea of the consumer in charge, is that we, about 3 weeks ago, decided to flip the model and create Game Skip, which is you could record the Super Bowl on your TiVo device and actually skip through the game and then watch the ads. So it was our way of letting the consumer have control over what it is that they wanted. So for those of you who were honest and said that you really do watch the Super Bowl for the ads, you could actually skip through the game and watch the ads. By the way, go back and watch the game, because of course it was a phenomenal game. But this is just a fun example where, yes, changing consumer behavior is driving so much of what happens in measurement. So we have been doing for years this report where the next day we go through and we look at all of the viewership from the TiVo devices. We look at who has actually rewound and watched particular moments, and then we create the top moments of the game and track what was the most viewed ad. It was the Peter Dinklage ad, of course, which was spectacularly fun. And then, of course, the top moments of the game were those critical ones that, where we were all sitting on the edge of our seats to understand, was that touchdown actually going to count, which was the pivotal moment, I think, of the game. But what was really interesting about this whole experience that we did at TiVo was when we launched this new capability, we had our historic way of measuring all of this top moments throughout the game, and we had to sort of rethink a little bit about, okay, if we're actually allowing people to skip through the game, let's basically change the ingest of how we're thinking about this data. So that required us to be very swift and move very quickly on our feet to pull all that together. So the point of this is there's a lot of work that goes into getting accurate measurement and actually starting to think differently about how we measure the media consumption habits of our audiences. And of course, as we know, in order to monetize it, we have to measure it, right? And measurement is challenging. And not only is measurement challenging, and by the way, I think many of us in this room, in this world that we're now living in, can feel it's a little daunting at times. And I'm here to say that it may feel daunting, but we're very excited about the future because with the right data and the right technology and software to access that data, we can get through the overwhelming times of feeling daunting. But truly, being able to measure so we can monetize and then do that in scale, and then take that into really what is insight. Because the notion that we've had historically, I believe, in TV measurement is we have this long process, which is we capture data, we do some analysis on it, we come up with some insights, and then we rinse and repeat. And that rinse and repeat cycle generally takes up to several weeks. But we are now moving in the world of a digital mindset within TV measurement. And the philosophy that we've now taken at TiVo, and our heritage is TV viewership data. But the philosophy that we have taken for our TV measurement strategy is we have to adopt the capabilities from the world of digital. Now, I want to be very careful. I am not saying that we want to adopt some of the measurement techniques from digital, because we know that that created a whole myriad of problems with viewability and fraud and so forth. But what digital has given us is a mindset of how we have to change the way that we think about TV measurement, not the collect the data, rinse and repeat, and then do 6 weeks later, and then by the time we get those results, they're stale. So with that notion of let's adopt the capabilities of digital, we believe that there are 3 foundational pillars, and that is speed, absolute speed. We've got to do all of this more quickly. The folks who are basically vying for the TV dollars, the folks that Evan put, those big giant bubbles that were on that screen, are doing things in near real time, if not real time. Extended. We've got to move out of just thinking about we're in the TV world and we're living in our own isolated silo. We've got to extend what we do into the rest of the ecosystem. And finally, comprehensive. So, as we are now distributing all of our content more broadly across different devices and different platforms, we have to have a comprehensive understanding of our audience, their viewership patterns that we've never had before. So let me just drill into these very quickly, and then I'm going to have Anthony, my colleague, start to give us some real live examples of how we're putting this philosophy of taking the capabilities from digital into TV measurement. So with speed, it's got to be flexible. We've got to have systems that basically, at a push of a button, give reports, analytics, and insight from TV viewership data. We can't have the model of, let me collect that data, let me go crunch that data, and then I'll give you a report in the next week or so, and then we can sort of derive some insights. So this has to move at the speed of digital. And not to give too much of a sales pitch for TiVo, we've gone through and re-architected how we collect data, how we store data, the big data tools that we use, because we know that this is an imperative to really having TV measurement in the same mindset as digital. And extended. So we have to move out of our silo in TV. We have to link the data that we have into the digital ecosystem. And that's linkage through mobile, through OTT, through any digital data. Because advertisers increasingly want to take learnings that they've had from their TV campaigns and apply them into digital. They want to do cross-campaign executions. They want to do reach extension. They want to do retargeting of people who have seen an ad in television into their digital world. And they want to do this way beyond traditional Nielsen age and gender. They want to do it based on behavior and based on all of the rich data that is available outside of the TV ecosystem. So having this dynamic linkage between TV viewership data and all the other data the wealth of data that now exists within the entire media ecosystem is paramount. And finally, for us as researchers, for us as content marketers, we need to fully understand what are the video consumption patterns of our audiences when they're on linear and whether they're on non-linear or whether they're on an OTT, a direct-to-consumer device, and where the overlap is, how we need to think about marketing to one environment versus another environment, and the insights that then come from all of that. And this is, again, part and parcel with what I just said about providing those linkages. This is now fundamentally linking everything that we've got in linear to the direct-to-consumer and the non-linear world, and fully, holistically understanding our audience consumption habits. So that's our view of where we are taking TV measurement into the future as an equal participant in the digital landscape. And with that, let me turn it over to my colleague, Anthony, to give us some real live examples of this.
Thanks, Walt. Let me just make sure I know how to work this. There we go. Thanks, Walt. So my name's Anthony. I run the client strategy team at TiVo. My clients are buy-side, sell-side, networks, agencies. I have the wonderful responsibility of sitting internally and representing the voice of my clients, the strategies of my clients, and ultimately the challenges and the problems of my clients, which I extend and we solve. We kick everything off here is I like to lead them with a strategic thought of what is accepted today will not lead to better business outcomes tomorrow. So as we are future looking, as to Walt said, rinse and repeat is no go. It's not good anymore, right? And we have to be aware of that. As we move forward in this, highlighting on each one of the things, I want to open this up to any questions that we have, keep this as engaging. I fully recognize that the only thing standing between you and lunch is me. And that, lead in is can get a little impatient. So feel free to engage. So speed. Speed is about flexible, it's about streamlined, it's about transparent. It's about being able to access things on your terms and not necessarily waiting for a refresh report cycle to hit, right? Feel free to challenge what that norm is, because we are drivers of speed. We are drivers of demand when it comes to what is next in the market. What do your partners need to hit? What are your deliverables? What are your expectations? We have systems in place, and these are self-access tools that are updated daily, optimized daily, reports available, customized daily. These are in responses to our client demands. And if clients are demanding, if teams aren't demanding these yet, then they don't necessarily know the good that's available to them on the other side. Being able to customize targets beyond age and gender within a self-service platform that allows you to actualize and measure conversions and cross-channel reports from both a planning and an actualization, a conversion standpoint. These type of tools, removing duplication, having a full-service planning grid, all of these things are available and customizable based on client needs. There's a two-way conversation here. How do we lead them? How do we follow them? Right? So what are their needs today? But more importantly, what are the roadmap needs for them going forward? Right? So we do have customizable UIs available to each one of our clients because their needs are different, right? Large network holding groups who have 17 channels within their portfolio versus smaller entities who may want a planning and reporting scheduling because the heavy load is associated with something of a deeper integration, right? Those days of heavy load are different, right? There's different ways to give custom value points to people across any set of demands. Extended. So what extended truly is about is expanding beyond traditional forms of measurement, right? Age and gender, not necessarily going to cut it anymore. One linear channel, cross-viewing habits, not necessarily going to cut it anymore. It's about measuring who's exposed and unexposed to ads so we can start to see the impact that advertising cross-channel has. It's about adjusting targets on the fly. Right? We are able to plan not against a standard demographic, but actually against a custom audience. For example, car purchasers of X, how they're doing on your network versus several other networks, and what are the opportunities there. And then again, seeing that platform, being able to refine those, right? We live in these live media environment worlds where we're able to plan weekly, optimize daily, and make adjustments for the back half of the week based on the activity and engagement of the first half of the week, right? That gets to Walt's point of more real-time environments, more digital in nature. Again, that's fully not there, right? The full operations of real-time and things that were beneficially endemic to digital spaces, it's not there. But as we look forward, we need to demand that. We need to behave in that way. We need to realize it together. Find target audiences on every platform, the cross-platform, the platform agnostic, I watch on my phone for convenience, I watch on my television for experience. We have to understand that's what consumers are doing and measure it and tell those stories and make those insights, most importantly, in the most valuable way possible. Right? I have clients tell me it's not about the data, it's about the insights, but I need the data for the insights. Tell me a story. Right? So we get creative with some of the opportunities that we have to tell them their stories. Tell me about my network. Tell me about my content. Tell me about the engagement that my promotional marketing is generating. These are all things that these open-ended natures of where research and where measurement can be today is actually a lot of fun. And the closer we align those with actual business outcomes, the more and more we future-proof ourselves. We do not want to be subject to media goals as proxies to effectiveness. We want to understand sales lift. We want to understand monetization and impact. And I want to do that for both my network partners as well as the end users, my network partners' clients. Right? So whether it's the ad sales side, whether it's the research side, whether it's the whatever they need to do internally, right? We partner with the research teams, we partner with the marketing teams, we partner with the programmatic teams, the programming teams, we partner with the ad sales teams. Fair game. We are connecting a lot of those pieces internally because on that side it's not necessarily connected, right? But we do have those champions who are connecting it on their side, and all of those create more data points. Extension is well beyond what we naturally think. It's not one step, right? The first step is great, but it's 2, it's 3, it's 4 steps, and it's always evolving. The more we evolve with it, the more relevant we are, and the more future-proof ourselves when we look at television as part of the overall communications ecosystem. Very naturally, to extend audiences from mobile to television to other devices, right? The future is about thinking holistic audiences. It's about thinking, how do I follow my people of interest around their entire experience? And how do I accurately and with integrity and with a methodology that we all agree upon prior to running a study, prior to producing numbers, right? What is the success metric of this? What numbers are we looking for? Or, what metrics do we want to see? And ultimately, what is the story that's going to happen at the outcome of that? But it is cross-environment. Again, we have to be thinking cross-channel. We have to thinking, how do we play linear? How do we play nonlinear? And what are the insights associated with those audiences? Great example of this was, and again, we have both a wealth of standard, scalable, productized, operationalized reporting features, but we also geek out on the fun custom stuff when you guys say, hey, I wonder if you guys can do that. Who could be my partner in this? TiVo Data has something along those lines. They have a LiveRamp integration, and I can access a whole suite of digital store through that. Whatever it is, happy to have that conversation. We're around all week. What we did here with the partner was around location-based data, so mobile data, ad viewership, and then we ran it across a couple things. This just happens to be QSR. What's popping for those networks? When are people watching? What shows are they watching? What day parts are popping? And how does that viewership change by QSR? We've actually done several examples like this. Ad sales teams take this and then they have a very compelling story to go and try to win more business. TV network apps, so starting to look at some of the nonlinear space, right? What's happening there? How do we start to analyze the engagement there? Again, TiVo today is a product of 5 or 6 different entities that had best-in-class services that we've combined a whole bunch of those talents and products to create different opportunities to tell different stories. When you are a data company today, what is uniquely valuable tends to be your partnerships, tends to be your products, tends to be your stories, tend to be your data, the quality, the integrity of the data. A lot of those things are very paramount to what we do and allows us to ideate and tell stories with you guys. When people approach us around measurement opportunities, we say, what are we trying to solve? What have you not been able to solve before? How do we do that? How do we do that together? Let's agree on what that methodology is. Let's agree on what that strategy is. Let's suspend your current limitations or the current parameters of your force to function in, but let's be that game changer. Let's be that thought leader. Let's publish something about this. And this was published, and this was published, and there's capabilities like this we can go well beyond, and we do so in unison with our partners. You know your brands, you know your initiatives, share those with us, leverage our data, let's tell a story together. And then again, comprehensive, it is again going beyond, and it's telling a complete and well-vetted and well-thought-through and well-connected story. Again, it's about targeting, it's about business impact. Today is about audiences, and today is about outcomes. And your measurement sure should align with that, because you will be significantly smarter depending on whoever you're talking to. A lot of what we do is that we make smart people smarter. Our data, our tools, our people, our experience is intended to make smart people smarter. Engagement, things are about connecting. Things are about measuring engagement. It's not potential viewership. I can show you this ad ran, but that doesn't mean I'm in the room, right? So how do we control for the user's behavior? How do we control for what current viewers are doing today with their time and with their choices? Right? And it's about creating value of inventory. What really works well together is media or programming, marketing, and consumer. All of those things connected in a thought, in a study, in an insight. Cross-channel, and then making sure inventory, data, and tech are all working harmoniously. And in a future state, when things are much more seamless, and when things are connected to in a way that people can really ease their workflows and be welcoming of the change. There's things that I hear with some of my partners are, that's not the way we used to do it, or it's not going to work because of the way we have to show workflow, or the way we have to operational. That's going to conflict with our operational process. Those are things I don't love to hear. Those are things that are barriers to evolution, right? They're barriers to the future. Looking at what we did here, so we do have nonlinear opportunities. This, to us, is about the insights that come from connecting a linear experience and a nonlinear experience through one centralized party, available in an automated way, pushed out to you guys. I think the builds on this slide are ridiculous. But again, it is about getting that promotional media or the content marketing reports in a two-way conversation. You engage with this, let us report on this. Let us report on this to get better engagement with you guys, right? So it has opportunity to go well beyond that and help define the user experience across linear, nonlinear, and there's certain instances where we can do out of home, which we've done for a client. All of those are fun little custom reports that we do. So have a couple minutes left. Want to open it up for questions at the end. If not, that's fine. But I do want to say what the future is not. And we've touched on several of these points, but I want to clearly call this out. The future is not siloed. The future is not satisfactory. And the future is not status quo. What we risk is irrelevance if we keep doing that. What we risk is the stigma associated with television or video measurement in a linear, distributed over television, being outdated and being stale and being Jurassic and being, all of these things that are saying, wait a minute, if I open up my mind to what's available there, if I tap into this toolbox, if I call up my partner set, if I read the trades, all these things that I'm sure we're all doing and doing well, would just continue to be the drivers of that change. The future is, to pay off what speed, what extension, and what comprehensive abilities are really doing. They're allowing you to simplify your approach, right? Because in this chaotic, as Evan said earlier, chaos was the first introduction was talking about chaos, and the second one also kind of hinted at chaos. We can simplify that. And there are tools in place to help simplify that. And we have to embrace those tools, and we have to learn how to intelligently use them and apply them and defend them. The future is advanced, and we should want to be advanced in that. What insights are we offering? How are we aligning with business outcomes? How are we going beyond and challenging our norms? And then ultimately the future is full of ambitions, right? The future is very ambitious. It is not, it's not just the status quo. We can't just accept what's always been, and we certainly can't say, well, that's how we've always done it. What we really do need to do is be ambitious with our thoughts and be advocates of advanced measurement and cross-platform and cross-intelligence opportunities. So with that, thank you. Again, I know you have lunch on the other side. I'm here, I'm around, would love to talk to anybody, even if it's just kind of random about what your challenges are and how we've worked through some similar things like that before. Thanks, Walt, for leading it off strong. And if there's any questions, go for it now, or let's move on. All right, cheers. Thank you.